Morning, people. Okay, back to this goddamn flu, alright? That's all we're going to call it, is a flu. Um, just comparing stories this morning. I was obviously on the internet, in YouTube, and looking to see what people have posted and whatever. And I came across this here, which Sun's reports, for you guys that don't know, Second Sun, Autotron. He actually put this up: emergency declared to fight coronavirus, and that's in San Francisco. What I found odd was just before I was looking on YouTube, I was checking to see what was in mainstream media, and that's why it just fucking caught my eye. Because up until now, here, the reports that have been coming out, I've not seen a doctor um, being put forward with that particular, or with those particular articles, right? Today, different story. If you have a look there, you can see in the picture, there's the mayor, whoever else it is that is standing there, and a doctor, okay? I mean, firstly, I love his stance. To me, he looks like a copper, because that's how they stand. The only difference is he doesn't have his arms crossed, but the stance is definitely the same. But anyway, now if you look at that, okay, now I'm going to show you, alright, now I'm going to show you something else. Now we're over here to the Australian story. Now the title for today's story here is Top Doctor Sensationally Claims Everyone in Australia Will Contract Coronavirus as Scott Morrison warns the threat is upon us and launches emergency plan. Let's listen to this for a minute, shall we? Let's pick it to bits.
The Silver catching coronavirus made him very sick.
My pneumonia was very bad and I had a lot of difficulty breathing, but thank God I'm here now at home.
This was the De Silva family trip around Japan. 22 days in isolation after 3 of them caught the disease on the Diamond Princess cruise ship.
Firstly, I can tell you they travelled through Japan. I know somebody that was in Japan, travelled around Japan. From Japan, they went elsewhere, okay, because they're travelling around. People travel around. One of them being a registered nurse, and they're not sick. They're not sick, and yet they were in the same place, approximately at the same time that these people were, but they're not sick.
This morning, they arrived home.
We suffered with pneumonia. We were like out of breath. I was so out of breath. Bianca was out of breath, and she's like 21.
A migraine, fluid on the lungs.
Did you hear what he just said? Fluid on the lungs. Now that rings a bell for me. Why does that ring a bell for me? Because for those that have been following me, I went through a period there probably about, 2 years ago, whatever it was, where I got fish poisoning, canned tuna, scromboid poisoning. And I was, before I even knew what I had, I was coughing my guts up. And when I would cough, it was like I was coughing up water. What also comes to mind is the video that I did on a mate that passed away not so long ago. And I was saying that when I was listening to her cough, okay, it reminded me so much of me, and I even told her on Skype, it sounded like she was coughing up water.
Aches and pains.
Worse than hell. I tell you, I don't want anyone to ever experience it.
2 negative tests over a few days, and they were finally allowed to fly. But from the people who've had it, the seriousness of this disease is not a beat up.
For the older people, I think it's very scary. Like, I would be really scared for those people.
Australia is now effectively treating this as a global pandemic.
The rate of transmission of the virus outside of China is fundamentally changing the way we need to now look at how this issue is being managed here in Australia.
An emergency response plan is now in place, meaning arrangements at schools, universities, hospitals and our airports are all under review. A potential financial package for industries worst hit, PM all but admitting an outbreak in Australia is inevitable.
These actions are being taken in an abundance of caution.
Our borders will be shut to China for another week, while people who have been to other virus hotspots could be forced into isolation too, but not
Forced into isolation. They're going to tell you what you have. It's your body, but you can't distinguish whether you just have the flu, okay? Normal standard flu. How many of you have had a minor flu? How many over the years have had a big-ass flu, like where it really fucking hits you bad? And what are the symptoms? You're sneezing, you have a runny nose, you have headaches, you're coughing, you're finding it hard to breathe. They're the normal symptoms of a flu, right? Doesn't matter what you want to call it today, next week, the week before, whatever the fuck, it's still a flu, okay? Who gets affected mostly when they get a flu is either the young or the elderly.
quite yet.
The advice we received today was that on the balance of risks, further travel bans were not recommended.
For the first time, the US president delivered his promise.
Now, this is where it gets me, okay? This is where it gets me, okay? The whole world, all right? The whole world is going to be on lockdown, okay? On lockdown because of the coronavirus. But listen to what Trumpy has to say. Listen to this, the fucking contradiction.
Prognosis on coronavirus.
We have a big problem potentially, and maybe it's going to be a very little problem.
Donald Trump saying it's just a bad flu, and
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Let me go back.
And maybe it's going to be a very little problem.
Donald Trump saying it's just a bad flu, and
Let me go back again.
We have a big problem potentially, and maybe it's going to be a very little problem.
Donald Trump saying it's just a bad flu, and
Are you hearing that? Are you hearing that? People, this has nothing to do with a fucking new case of flu or whatever, an old case of flu. What this has to do is with the South China Sea, okay? This is stupid-ass fucking governmental games. They didn't want China. They had to do something to distract China, so they dropped a virus in China to blame China. Lord knows, here in Perth, people have gone totally fucking stupid and are pathetic, fucking useless eating assholes, right? They've turned away from all the Chinese community. They've turned away from the Chinese restaurants. They've turned away from anything that is even remotely friggin' Asian. People, which I did a story before, or I talked about it, are literally kicking out people that are living in their units or whatever that they are renting to Asian people. They're kicking them out on the streets. Get a fucking grip, people. Get a fucking grip. This has nothing to do with people getting sick with a fucking flu. It's all got to do with ruining China's fucking economical system, and they're doing a good job of it. Let me just put it back up there because I want to hear you guys. Hear Trump. Say it one more time. Come on, baby.
president delivered his prognosis on coronavirus.
We have a big problem potentially, and maybe it's going to be a very little problem.
Donald Trump saying it's just a bad flu, and
It's just a bad flu. Oh my God. Come on, people. Grow a brain. Grow a brain. Don't be fucking scared every time somebody farts in the universe. You know? Don't be scared every time somebody farts in the universe. But I'm going to show you the difference between what's being put in the media in San Francisco to what's just come out in Australia. But before I do that, I had somebody tell me yesterday that they had a conversation with someone, okay? And this is a top surgical nurse. Let me repeat that. A top surgical nurse who says that only people with respiratory problems were likely, or most likely, to catch this, meaning young or elderly, okay? This is a top surgical nurse. People with good immune systems, people that eat right, people that you know, that eat good food, whether it be whatever the fuck, just eat healthy, people that take care of themselves, yada, 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 like any illness, those people are less prone to get it, okay? If anything, like I says, and like she says, the young and the elderly are more prone to get it, okay? The masks that people are wearing, she laughed and said, the masks that people are wearing are of no fucking use. They're not going to stop you from getting it. Because you have to take it off to eat. You have to take it off to drink. And not only that, apparently after X amount of minutes of using it, because you've been breathing through it, it's of no use. So if you want to go out and invest in shitloads of masks, save your fucking money, all right? But I'm going to run out of time on this thing, so let me go and show you, all right? Let me show you this particular article that we have running in Perth now. Look at this. A top doctor has claimed everyone in Australia will get coronavirus as the government launches a pandemic plan. Professor Ian Mackay from the University of Queensland said it's unlikely the deadly virus will ever be contained and all countries should prepare for the worst. The doctor's claim came after Prime Minister Scott Morrison told the nation a coronavirus pandemic was very much upon us and detailed a plan to stockpile medicines, create fever clinics and lock aged care homes down. Now that right there, people, is a worry to me. That there is a worry to me. Are they going to go through and inject all elderly, which means all disabled, which includes my bro, okay, with vaccines, with their fucking vaccines? Are they going to force it on them? Lock aged care homes down. Now, if everybody was going to get this, why aren't they locking all cities, country towns, you name it? Why hasn't everybody been locked down? Maybe, just maybe, this top surgical nurse knows what she's talking about, and she's right in the system. She's right in the system. That there bothers me because of my bro, okay? But look at the similarities in the story. The story that I showed you that is up on YouTube on Second Sons or Sons Reports has a doctor standing there now. What do we have in mainstream media here today? We have a doctor declaring everybody's going to get it. Everybody's going to get it, okay? I'll put links to these stories. You know, that it's beyond pathetic. It's beyond pathetic, people. It's just ridiculous. People are still traveling. People that I know are still traveling. They were in Asia. They're still traveling all over the place. And some of them in the medical profession. You'd kind of think if this was running rampant, okay, that they would panic and they would come home. Why aren't they panicking? Okay? Look at this. Look at stupid ass people, okay? Look at stupid ass people. Oh, and this is another thing that worries me. 30 crew members were brought to Australia on the spectrum of the seas ahead of a free cruise for the volunteer firefighters. I wonder if the volunteer firefighters were given a free cruise so they get on the cruise ships and they get sick. You know, because there was a big kerfuffle being made here about volunteer firefighters being paid and the government didn't want to pay them. I don't know. I'm asking. You tell me. But look at how scared people are that they have gone and they're literally, look at the shelves, they're stockpiling for this big ass fucking... come on, people, grow a brain. Stop fucking hating. Stop hating the Asian community. Fuck, yesterday you were hating on Muslims. You were hating on Iran. You were hating on fucking this one, that one. What, today you're going to hate on China? Get a fucking grip.